what's up guys, my name is AFC Dion and welcome to a new Pokemon PvP video. I'm doing the old school intro because I have a little announcement for next week. Basically today I've been playing a lot of PvP games and I've recorded most of them. So what I did was I've scheduled an upload for pretty much every day of next week. Using the team which is currently on the screen. This team includes Mimikyu and Crawdaunt. I know most of you guys probably haven't seen these Pokemon in action yet, so I hope you guys might learn something or find out something by watching these videos. I'm really excited about uploading them, and let's actually do a real quick rundown on this team. So first off, we have Raikou. Raikou has Calm Mind and Volt Switch. Volt Switch basically gives me momentum early game, making plays for me, allowing me to outplay my opponent as well. Then we have Calm Mind, because if certain threats to Raikou are gone, this will allow Raikou usually to late game clean up or sweep. Think about Pokemon like Tyranitar and Chansey. Once those Pokemon are gone after a Calm Mind, Raikou is usually able to take over. Then we have Garchomp. Garchomp is our physical defensive wall. He has Rocky Helmet and Rough Skin. He's also the stealth rocker of the team. Next up we have Mimikyu. Mimikyu is basically the star. He's our sweeper. He has Sword Stance, Shadow Sneak, Shadow Claw, and Play Rough. And next up we have Crawdaunt. Crawdaunt has a Choice Band with Crab Hammer, Knockoff, Aqua Jet for the priority move, and he has Crunch as well. Crawdaunt is the physical wall breaker. He basically weakens or defeats Pokemon like Clefable, Chansey, Slowbro, Skarmory, Quagsire, Hippowdon, Milotic, these kinds of bulky Pokemon. Because if those Pokemon are weakened or are defeated, it will become much easier for Mimikyu to sweep, because Mimikyu usually has a lot of trouble breaking through these kind of bulky Pokemon. And then we have Tangrowth. Tangrowth has an Assault Vest, so he is our special defensive wall. And lastly we have our Scizor. Scizor has an Impish nature. Scizor is our Ice type resist, kind of relieving pressure of Mamoswine. Because I have a Tangrowth and Garchomp which are both weak to ice, and Crawdaunt is not really a wall, so Scizor basically are Ice type resist, and he's also the defogger of the team. And defog is actually really important for Mimikyu because Mimikyu has a Life Orb, and imagine if your opponent gets up Stealth Rocks or Spikes. Mimikyu doesn't have recovery moves, he doesn't have Drain Punch. So every time you bring in Mimikyu takes 12.5% from either Stealth Rocks or Spikes. And when he attacks, he also loses 10% because of the Life Orb recoil. So that's basically every time he comes in and attacks, 22.5% gone of his health. If this happens multiple times, Mimikyu easily gets worn down. And this is why you need to remove those entry hazards when you can. Because that way you can maximize the amount of damage you put out with Mimikyu. We talked about Crawdaunt weakening defensive Pokemon, but Garchomp is actually also really nice on the team because Garchomp with the Rough Skin and Rocky Helmet weakens physical offensive Pokemon for Mimikyu. Let me explain this, because Mimikyu has a pretty low base attack stat for an offensive Pokemon in my opinion. It's usually not able to one-shot most Pokemon or get a lot of damage off on most Pokemon. It needs 3 damage on opposing Pokemon to basically take them down, or he needs his Sword Stance up, but you're not always able to get up that Sword Stance. This is where Garchomp's ability and his item comes in, because you can bring in Garchomp against physical offensive Pokemon, and they will take about 30% of their health. So think about Pokemon like Heracross, Gyarados, Mamoswine. Dragonite, maybe Medicham, these kind of Pokemon. Because Mimikyu is not able to one-shot them. Yeah, he can one-shot the Medicham, but it was a bad example. But there's other Pokemon, Mimikyu cannot one-shot them. He needs damage off on them. So by bringing in Guard Jump against those Pokemon, they take 30%. And if they attack him 2 or 3 times, or even 1 time, Mimikyu can come in and knock them out. And this Mimikyu has a jolly nature, which means he's going to be faster than Nidoking, Heracross, basically the Pokemon with 295 speed. Because Adamant, I believe Adamant has 292, so Adamant will be slower than those Pokemon. But with a jolly nature, he will have a max speed of 320, which is actually pretty decent in this meta. Pretty good actually. So he will outspeed most Pokemon, but he needs free damage. So this is why Guard Jump is going to be important. But for the specially offensive Pokemon, think about strong water types like Starmie, Rain teams, Kingdra, electric types like Raikou, Raichu, and Magnezone. This is where you have Tangrowth. Tangrowth can switch into those Pokemon. And what the most important thing about using Mimikyu, by the way, guys, is utilizing his ability to the maximum, because his ability is going to be really important. So basically what you want is you want to preserve your disguise as long as possible. Basically don't want it to break really early, because Mimikyu is a really good safety net. It can turn the tide in a battle. If your opponent has a Dragonite or something, then Mimikyu can stop it with his disguise, because you will guarantee live one hit with the disguise. You will guarantee live on it, unless it's an Excadrill with with Iron Head and Mold Breaker. But otherwise, you will live one attack. So that one attack can be important in turning around an opposing sweep. But to preserve this as long as possible, you don't want to switch in your Mimikyu to an incoming attack. And this is why you use U-turn and Volt Switch on your team. And this is why we have Raikou and Scizor. Like, Raikou is an offensive, especially offensive, fast threat. So it usually forces switches. And when you use Volt Switch and your opponent switches, they switch, then you use Volt Switch, and you basically get to see what they switch into. Sometimes it's good to bring in the Mimikyu for free, but you could also bring in your Crawdaunt, because Raikou often forces switches like Chansey and Tyranitar, and if you Volt Switch into Crawdaunt, then Crawdaunt can get a lot of damage off by using Crap Hammer or Knockoff on that switch. And on the other end, we have Scizor. Scizor is really slow, so he usually attacks second when he uses U-turn. So basically what will happen is your opponent attacks, you get to see what he does, then your U-turn comes out, and after you see what he does, you can bring in your Mimikyu for free without taking damage or taking an attack, which means preserving your disguise, because with your disguise you can also get a free Swords Dance. And with Shadow, if after everything has been weakened a lot, that Shadows or that Swords Dance can allow you to sweep with Shadow Sneak as a priority move. But this is basically the rundown of the team. I hope you guys will see this rundown back into the battles I play. But yeah, make sure to subscribe, click on the notification bell if you want to see those videos straight away when they go live. And don't forget to click that like button. But without further ado, guys, let's hop right into the battle. I will be using this team in this battle as well in this video. So let's go. Yo, what's up guys? My name is AFC Adinho and welcome to another PvP battle. This time I'm bringing the Crawdaunt and a Mimikyu to the squad. My opponent also bringing a Mimikyu, so this battle is going to be spicy. Anyway, let's lead off with the Tangrowth, because Tangrowth has a really good matchup against this team. He's also assault vested, so it can deal with the Magnezone. But yeah, Tangrowth looking really good. And let's see what he leads up with. He leads up with his Mammoth Swine. And Mamoswine is also the only potential Stealth Rocker on his team, but I know I live Icicle Crash even if he's Choice Bandit. I'm just clicking Giga Drain as he ends up going for the Stealth Rock straight away. And him making a play like this kinda tells me it's Focus Sash. I'm not sure though, because I also don't see... Anyway, I'm going into Scissor. It could be Focus Sash, but let's see. I just want to get off the defog. As he goes for Endeavor, and him going Endeavor 100% tells me it's Focus Sash. But I'm still going to click defog here. I don't think he's going to click Earthquake there. But he makes the Magnezone switch. Solid play, also predictable. But honestly, I don't care too much about my Scissor. I just wanted to get the defog off to relieve pressure on my offensive Pokemon. But now I'm just clicking Bullet Punch. And he should click Volt Switch, yup. Because he should not click a move that locks himself into... should not lock himself into a move and stay in with Magnezone, because that could be really bad for him. But he Volt Switches into the Mamoswine. And what I can do is I can just go into Mimikyu. And I'm just going to click Shadow Sneak. I know I'm faster, but I don't want him to break my disguise with Ice Shard. I just click Shadow Sneak. And my Mimikyu also is really good offensively against his team, so I don't care too much about him switching there. But this skill is also really nice because his Stealth Rocker is gone now. So he won't be able to get up his Stealth Rocks for the remainder of the game. But I still have my Garchomp alive. But yeah, he goes into Magnezone now. I cannot knock this Magnezone out with Mimikyu. I don't want to go Tangrowth, but I think Raikou is better. Because if he Volt Switches here, then against all his other Pokemon, I want my Raikou out. Especially, he actually goes for Flash Cannon. So I'm going to click Volt Switch here. But I want my Raikou out against the Dragonite, Breloom, or the Mimikyu, just to break their disguise, their multi-skill, and on Breloom maybe a potential Focus Sash. But yeah, he actually stays in, so I'm going into Tangrowth here as he goes for Volt Switch now, which means this Magnezone is not Choice Scarf or Choice Specs. But we don't see Air Balloon on this thing, and we don't see Leftovers. So this could be an Expert Belt Magnezone. But he Volt Switches into the Gyarados against my Tangrowth, which is interesting. So I'm just going to click Knockoff. We also don't see Intimidate, so this is a Moxie, Dragonite. Anyway, we knock off Lumberry, and I'm going to click Giga Drain here, as my opponent ends up going to go for the bounce. Let's actually bring in my Garchomp here, just to get the Rough Skin and Rocky Helmet chip. And Garchomp took it pretty well. And now I'm actually going to switch back into my Tangrowth, because I want to see if he has Taunt or Ice Fang perhaps, which my Tangrowth can take easily well. So he does end up going for Taunt, and now I honestly think he's going to go for Bounce again. So what I can do here is bring in my Garchomp, and let's see. He does go for Bounce, and while he's in the air, I can get up my Stealth Rocks. From the last hit, we know we live another Bounce. So I get up my... No, he crits me! Ah, that's unfortunate. Minor setback, but we can bounce back from this. See what I did there, guys. I just bring in my Mimikyu and click Shadow Sneak. Again, I don't care if he switches. We knock out the Gyarados and we bounced back from this because he bounced my Garchomp down. Sorry, guys. Anyway, I think he's going to bring in his Magnezone again. And because my Garchomp is gone now, he 100% clicks Volt Switch. So I definitely want to bring in my Raikou. Because like I said, I should not bring in Tangrowth, but I want to bring in Raikou. Because if he Volt Switches into Breloom, Dragonite, or Mimikyu, I want my Raikou out to break their ability or item with the Volt Switch. And he does go for the Volt Switch right there. So he ends up going into Breloom. But I actually want to try here just to click Hidden Power Ice. Because if he is... Because that puts him at 1 HP. Actually switches back into Magnezone. So I do get some extra leftovers recovery, which is nice. And yeah, I want to click Calm because he most likely clicks Volt Switch himself, and I don't want to give him the momentum. This way I reduce his damage, and now I can gain the momentum. Because he has to Volt Switch into something, and I can Volt Switch right out there. He goes into Mimikyu, and I'll just click Volt Switch. I know I live Shadow Sneak 100% from here, even if it crits me. And that way I can break his disguise with Volt Switch. He also doesn't have a ground type on his team, so I still get the +1 Volt Switch off on anything on his team. But what do I want to Volt Switch into? I think I'll just go into Tangrowth. Yeah, let's Volt Switch into Tangrowth. So I click Volt Switch, break the disguise, and we're bringing in the Tangrowth. The Tangrowth should pretty much take every hit. Because for Play Rough, he unfortunately misses. Unfortunate for him, but I'm going to click Knockoff right here. As my opponent goes into the Magnezone. Now we actually get to see what item he has. He has an Expert Belt, so he's using my patented Expert Belt Magnezone. Oh well. I'll just click Earthquake here. Earthquake knocks out the Magnezone. I don't care if it goes Dragonite, because then I'll just break the multi-skill. Tangrowth is at full HP, so it 1v1s the Breloom. And it still does a lot of damage against the Mimikyu, but he stays in, which means we knock out the Magnezone. And that thing is finally gone. And Tangrowth is still really healthy, so I can still break the multi-skill from the Dragonite. Dragonite cannot knock me out. And he does go with Dragonite right here. And I'll just click Hidden Power Rise. We don't care about the weakness policy, because we do have Mimikyu with Disguise in the back. He goes for Fire Punch there, 40%. That's most likely Dragon Dance. I feel like Choice Band should do more damage. But honestly, my Tangrowth still has a lot of value beating the Breloom. So what I can do is I can go into Crawdaunt, clicks Fire Punch again. He does click Fire Punch again. And to knock me out, he needs to click Outrage, which means I can Revenge Kill this. He does click Outrage. Crawdaunt goes down, but now he's locked in. He cannot switch. So it could be really good for Mimikyu. But honestly, wait. He didn't Dragon Dance, right? Yeah, he uses Fire Punch 2 times, which means my Raikou is faster. I can bring in Raikou. He's locked in, he cannot switch, and I can knock him out with the Hidden Power Rise. Unless he has a Yachi Berry, then I'm gonna cry. We knock him out, and I get some leftovers recovery again with Raikou. All he has left is his Mimikyu and his Breloom. Breloom comes in now. But I already broke the Disguise, so I'm gonna click Hidden Power Rise. I don't care if he is Focus Sash. Crit him, but he ends up to be Focus Sash. He goes for Bullet Seed. Only gets 2 hits, but honestly I think Mach Punch will knock me out. Because it's with Technician, it still does quite some damage against Raikou. Let's go for Mach Punch there. But this is the point where I can clean up the game. With my Mimikyu. Mimikyu already has 2 kills on his name. But I'll click Shadow Sneak here. I can click anything else, but I just click Shadow Sneak. Knock out the Breloom. And all he has left is his own Mimikyu. And I still have my Disguise, he doesn't, which means I can just click Shadow Claw. And he doesn't even click Shadow Sneak, so I knock him out. And Mimikyu, MVP of this game. Mimikyu the GOAT. But that was a really good game. Brandon Lee. But yeah, I hope you guys did enjoy this battle. If you did, make sure to hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Make sure you're also part of the notification squad. And definitely leave a comment down below. And I'll see you guys next time. Definitely check out my Discord channel as well. That's usually where I hang out these days online. Definitely a good place to be. And yeah, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Guys,